This is Wales. 175 years ago, my ancestors left from these docks to go where they were treated best. And we're visiting a working coal mine and museum to show how my coal miner ancestors actually worked here. Exploring how life was like in rural Wales at the local Heritage Centre and Museum, visiting the local Rugby Centre, even seeing the church where my great-great-great-grandparents were married hundreds of years ago. This is one of the most intimate videos we've ever made. My grandmother spent decades making this binder of the Jones family tree. Her family came from Wales. Today we're going back to Wales to trace her ancestry, to see the towns where they came from, to see how they lived, what made them feel that the United States was the place to go where they were treated best, and ultimately, why I left. Heading to Blaenavon. The London Telegraph called it the Taj Mahal of the Welsh valleys, and we will see what's happening there. We're going to walk around the town. We're going to see the home where my family lived and where they left. And when we get to Blaenavon, we're going to tell you about the history of the town, who lived there, what went on there, what sustains it today, and why it's significant in Welsh history.
Blaenavon.
Blaenavon.
Yeah.
Like Avon.
My grandfather Jones was born in Blaenavon, Wales. He was a Welsh coal miner, and my father grew up in North Lawrence, Ohio, which is near Massillon, Ohio. I don't know a lot about my grandfather's years. He was one of 5 that they brought with them on the Rose Standish from Newport, Wales. His family went down to the dock to say goodbye to them. They begged them not to come. He probably was wavering, but Sarah, his wife, said, "We are going."
We're here on Lion Street in the town center of Blaenavon. This is where my grandmother's ancestors came almost 2 centuries ago. They left this town. It is a town of about 5,600 people now. This is a heritage town. There is a lot of history here. I don't spend a lot of time in small towns, but there's a quaintness here. And we just walked by and discovered all these Welsh beers. This one seems the most, for some reason this one jumped out at me.
Obviously we've got all different flavours of cheeses. We're making them all in the shop by hand, just me and Jerry. It's a small family business.
There's a minister, Benjamin Price, and his sister, Sarah Price, married into the Jones family, and she said that if you signed your name with an X, it was like you were not...
She couldn't read it right. Illiterate.
Couldn't read it right, so you just signed...
With an X.
Just an X.
Yeah.
My name is Terry Evans. I'm 90 years of age, and I've been a volunteer for about 8 or 9 years, I suppose. We're a charity-run business, and we just depend on people coming here, so it's just donations that we have. This black one here is more pure, and it came from Spain. I'd like you to lift this up.
Do weights with this. That's intense.
Isaac Hayward, he born in Blaenavon, and when he was 13, he went to work with his father in the pit. And of course he joined the union next year, and he became a union representative.
These are the Kennards. They were iron masters for 70 years, I suppose. Lots of these iron masters, all they were there for making money. But the Kennard, they looked after their people as well.
Upstairs used to be have double seated for courting couples and all.
You see the church gates? You can see a ball on top, which is in gold, and then the black post, which goes down. The black post is supposedly a cannon, which was produced in Blaenavon, And the balls are one of the cannonballs that they used to make in Blaenavon in the ironworks. They built these houses, but they double stacked. You got entrances to those houses there, and those on top is that way. That was the old lockup or police station.
Maybe not their children as much, but yes, a better life, but their grandchildren definitely a better life. And they didn't live to see their grandson become the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Ohio, because both his parents died when he was just out of high school. And he eked out, "This is my dad."
So it's quite sleepy on a Wednesday afternoon, but you can imagine all those years ago, family living here. They showed us the old homes where there might be one in the front and one in the back. But ultimately they decided they did not want to live here. They wanted to go where they were treated best. And we're gonna show you later the port from which they left and never returned. I think it's powerful to retrace your ancestry. There's a feeling that comes with it. Just to be here, you really start to think, what is it that made me who I am? So we're here at one of the original schools in Blaenavon. It was a school from 1816 up until the 1980s. They said this was one of the first free schools in the UK. Before that, everyone had to pay. And so you came here 6 days a week. You went next door to Sunday school on Sunday. This was the center of your life. What do the 5,000 people who do live here do?
A lot work. Some will still work here. I mean, Daniel Doncaster's up at Fortside. They employ quite a lot of people. There are player factories on the estate, but a lot of people work outside Blaenavon. On the other hand, there's a lot of people now coming in. There's a lot of people from Bristol, London area coming in because the property is so much cheaper here than it is up in London.
What can you buy a home for here?
You are probably talking for a small 2-bedroomed house, you're probably talking about 95,000, which I suppose in London you won't buy a flat for that.
Won't buy a garage for that?
No, well, there you are. Right, well, I'm Angela Lewis. I've lived here all my life. I've worked here for the past 13 years. I am now a member of Blaenavon Town Council. I also run an over 50s group here in Blaenavon and do a lot of work with them to combat isolation and loneliness for a lot of people. I enjoy working here, meet lots of different people. Yeah, it's a lovely place to work. And I mean, as I said, I've lived here all my life.
So that's a look at this small town in Wales where my ancestors came from. They went where they were treated best. Now we're gonna go look at the big pit and see the conditions that people would have worked in back then. What this brings up for me is we all have a desire to reconnect with people in our family in the past. And for me, as someone who advocates having a second citizenship, this is one way you can get that second passport, is tracing your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, even further back sometimes. Go to nomadcapitalist.com/CBD. Learn how we can help you reconnect with your ancestors by getting a second citizenship. It's a more affordable way to get a top-tier passport if you qualify.
We had planned a trip in the 80s. It was a German ship. We were going to fly to Frankfurt, and we were going to go to Vienna, and we were going to take the Danube. There was, of course, a stop in Czechoslovakia, and we were told not to take it. And they said even if he wouldn't get out, which of course he was just dying to see his home country. He used to have tears. He was a big 6-foot big guy. Saying, I wish I could have put flowers on my mother's grave. I never was able.
Now we're here at the Big Pit. This is a working coal mine, This is a museum. We're going to see what some of my ancestors would have been doing back in the day on what they call the colonies.
Good afternoon, I'm Kerry Thompson. I'm the curator, and this is Big Pit National Coal Museum in Blaenavon, South Wales. Originally there was a pond by here, and it was rough ground. So the actual historic site starts by the wall, and that's just behind you. Women were banned from working underground in 1842. Right, so they couldn't work under the ground, but they could work on the surface. Normally when you see that on top of one of the girls, they're the ones who actually did the heavy labouring on top of the pits. These are probably working in the brickworks. Every colony had its own brickworks. And you can see by there, she's actually holding a brick form, a form for making bricks. That's a tippler. So the full drums would have gone into that, be tipped over, and then the coal would then come out on the side, but then into the wagons. The end of the 19th century, this was basically purely for producing coal. And our biggest market was the French railways. When they cut coal, there's methane gas is produced, yeah? But also carbon monoxide is produced when that methane gas burns. Okay, so it burns the oxygen molecules. Now after an explosion, the air underground is full of carbon monoxide gas, or after damp as they call it in the pits. Now, if you walk into that, of course, you were dead, innit, right? So as an early warning, a rescue team going down to save people's lives would carry a canary with them. And the canary, being they absorb a lot of oxygen because flying takes a lot of effort. So they breathe in very fast to take all this oxygen in. Now, they breathe in about twice as fast as a man is. So if there's carbon monoxide gas about, that affects the canary quicker than the man. So the canary will start drooping and falling off, so they know now there's danger and they can get back to an area where they know is safe.
What I think about, this kind of culture, to your point, I mean, people want to work hard, they get pride in working hard. You don't have that everywhere. And yet there was something where, they attribute that, there's a humility, I think, to where the son of the people who became a high-ranking politician in Ohio. And he said, for me, the son of a Welsh coal miner, to become the head of the House of Representatives, there was this great, humility around that. So we found the church where Rob and Sarah Price were married. The Sarah Price, who, as many at the time were, was illiterate and signed her marriage certificate, which is in my grandmother's possession. She signed it with an X. This is the church, October 6th, 1829. They had their first child a couple years later. They had the last child mere months before they left, 22 years after being married. It was that baby in the family that would ultimately was part of the line from which my grandmother, my father, and now me are here. This is pretty crazy. I think people have to make decisions as individuals to go where they're the most successful, where they're the most free, but you can keep a part of you inside. You can keep that part of your family history inside by coming and seeing where that family came from. They made a decision to go where they were treated best at the time. We believe, as Nomad Capitalists, that those decisions over time change, that over the course of generations, the best place to be is going to be different. And I think there's something emotionally powerful about coming back to where your ancestors left, realizing you can do the same. And if you can take that piece, if you're eligible for a second citizenship, claim that not only because it's strategic, but because there's something that feels good about being here and seeing where you came from. And I think having that as part of you is powerful. Now, for the Welsh pastime, let's see rugby. If I'm from some of the villages, would I be a supporter of Newport or Cardiff, or there's teams out there? Like, Who's supporting the Dragons?
So the Dragons, we represent Gwent. So that covers off the 5 unitary authorities then. So you've got Newport, Blaenavon, Caerphilly, Torfaen and Monmouthshire. So we represent all those areas. But we got the largest density of rugby clubs here in Gwent. So we've got over 70 clubs. In terms of the facility, Rodney Parade has been here since 1875. It's our 150th anniversary, but the facility we're going to walk into now is the Bisley Stand, and this was built in 2011. This is where they come pre-match hospitality, but then the players come up here after for their post-match meal, and this is where they mingle them with our supporters. But you can see it's got a great view of the pitch.
Tell me about the significance of rugby in Wales, because this seems like I've never seen anything like it.
It is phenomenal. Rugby is synonymous with sport in Wales in terms of it becomes the hub of the local community, and people do live week to week to come and support the Dragons, to come and support the community activations that we run. So it is a really important part of our culture. When we win and we're successful, you get a happy Wales.
For someone who's used to American football, how does rugby differ?
Oh, probably passing the ball backwards is the biggest difference. American football, yeah, again, I enjoy watching it. You go for the forwards and the back, so it's similar in terms of that trait, in terms of it can be played by players of different abilities. They got different skill sets, but I think rugby is really physical in terms of the breakdown, where American football is a lot of stop-start and probably more tactical, I would say, in that respect. Wasn't it the World Cup, the William Webb Ellis, where a ball was picked up, and that's where football, like rugby, originated then, started from just picking up a ball and starting to run with it. So this is where the players run out, the players' tunnel, so that'll be pulled right out to there, and we are a smoke machine, so it can bellow with smoke as well. And as they run out every game, we have 2 giant flames. We have 6 either side then that goes off, this south end and north end. And then right in the middle of the pitch, this fireworks goes up as they run out to add to the atmosphere. And then for evening games with the LED boards and the floodlights, we have them flashing. And
okay. So this was a bit of an emotional day, and I think people often don't understand the personal connection to reclaiming other citizenships, to traveling and seeing where your family may have been from. If you qualify for citizenship by descent, I think that going through that process is going to change you in some way. It's going to make you feel more connected. I felt that way. I don't even qualify for the second citizenship, but going back in time and imagining people in your family tree who made certain decisions, who imparted certain values that are where you are today, I think that's very powerful and very impactful, and it's something that everyone should look at. Yakida. Makes us feel alive. Sounds pretty good. Let's check that out. We keep this love in a photograph. We make these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, our hearts are never broken, time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your